sa.gov.au/volunteers. Is it time to do a big clean-up around the house? We can help get rid of your unwanted items with a hard waste collection. You can book Norma to pick it up from your front yard, up to 2 times per financial year.
To make a booking, call Norma on 8259 2100.
The new My Playford mobile app is here. You can now stay up to date with the latest council news and info, set bin reminders, make online payments and send through your customer requests, all in one place and at the touch of a button.
Download the free My Playford app today for your iPhone or Android device. Want to know what's happening in the community? Subscribe to our fortnightly e-newsletter, Playford News, at playford.sa.gov.au, and you'll be on top of stories, news and what's happening in Playford. It's local news for local people. Support your local theatre and arts industry and enjoy a show at the Shedley. Playford's iconic Shedley Theatre is bringing a great selection of local and national performance.
Declarations of interest, are there any? Any declarations by members? Councillor Baker.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Yeah, I'd like to declare an interest in item 15.2.
Thank you, Councillor Baker. Could I just get you to hit your microphone, Councillor Baker? Thank you. Councillor Small-Smith.
Yes, I need to declare an interest in 15.2.
Thank you, Councillor Small-Smith. I'll also declare an actual conflict of interest in item 15.2, which is the review of the confidential orders, as one of the items relates to me. Are there any other conflicts of interest? If not, then we'll move on to item 4, Mayor's Report. A number of items on the screen, but councillors, obviously over the last couple of days we've had a very moving, solemn, reflective Anzac Dawn service at Smithfield, and also a very uplifting and moving overnight vigil with our young people in the city of Playford that have shown their respect and remembrance to those that have served our country. It was fantastic to see a number of our elected members, but also our community, attend these events for the first time in a couple of years where we've had issues related to COVID. It was fantastic to see our community turning out for those 2 items, and I wish to thank over 65 young people that in particular took part in the overnight vigil. I think for all of you that attended would agree that it was a very fantastic night and great for our young people. There's obviously been a number of opening of our 4 parks across the city over the month. There's been a couple of other items on the screen, but it's all there. But I'd also like to make mention and thank the staff and the outgoing Civic Events Committee too for their work in relation to the civic events of Anzac Day over the weekend. Are there any other councillors wishing to make reports of any councillors wishing to make reports of representations of council on other organisations? No. Then we move on to item 6, report by councillors. Are there any reports by councillors? Councillor Small-Smith.
Yes, thank you very much. I know you just mentioned about the overnight vigil and the dawn service, but I'd just like to say that it was one of the most moving ceremonies I've been to in my years on Playford. And what really touched my heart was when the anthems were played, that all of the guides, scouts and all the others that were there from other groups all saluted, and it was just wonderful to see these little kids about this high all saluting to the anthems, and that really made a big lump in my throat. And I thought how wonderful this city is to have such fabulous kids, and for them all to turn out and stay out overnight. And I'm sure they were all pretty tired the next day, and I made a comment to someone and they laughed. I said, look at this, it's 5 o'clock in the morning and all these kids are here. Can Can you imagine their mums yelling at them on a school day, come on, get up, and they wouldn't move. They were quite happy in their beds. But it was a wonderful, wonderful service, both at night and in the morning. And for those of you who attended, I'm sure you really, really enjoyed it, because I know I did. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Smallwood-Smith. Councillor Ryan.
Thank you, Mayor Doherty. I'd just like to take this opportunity to thank Zoe Bettison, the member for Ramsey. After about 18 years of banging my head in this place and outside of this place for something to be done on the Haydown and John Rice Avenue, Zoe Bettison now has got part of Elizabeth Vale in her area, and we have got 1.5 million that will be spent there. They haven't made up their mind whether roundabout or lights, but after many, many years, thank goodness, and I just publicly want to thank Zoe for her efforts on that very dangerous interchange. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Ryan. Councillor Mark.
Thanks, Mayor Doherty. I'd like to just give appreciation to Hope Street SA, located there in Davern Park, who do an incredible scope of work with the youth in the north, especially in the city of Playford. Attended there for what they just recently received a grant to do a bit of upgrade their cafe, and what they're starting to do with the youth is bring them in there, and they're going to start teaching them how to brew coffee and open up the cafe and use that as a learning and hopefully an entry level to get in a job. So I look forward to really engaging with them over the next 6 months where the cafe officially opens, and to the point where they'll actually have their own style of coffee beans that they'll sell to the markets as well. So well done to the Hope Street for really looking after the youth and the trouble that we have.
Councillor on his hands.
Thank you, Mayor. So I've attended the 2022 Council Best Practice Showcase and LGA OGM 2 weeks ago at the Entertainment Centre with Councillor Gosink with me. We've had the inspiring and educative story of courage from a migrant child to Navy captain by the retired naval officer Captain Mona Shinde. She highlighted the importance of diversity and inclusion and had touched on the following self-reflecting thoughts. And I've just put them down here. It's a few of them. Types of biases that arise due to early experiences in people, driving real change in the strategies and in the decision making, improving community outcomes for all by creating the opportunity of exposure, like listening to different perspectives or diversity of perspectives. Leaders or council can really drive real change when it sees the value of changing the system and structure. Lack of awareness or unfamiliarity with various community groups of ethnic, cultural backgrounds, and have a bigger view or knowledge and experience and see what's beyond us. And you can only get educated. I like this one, as she said, you can only get educated if you're exposed to diverse types of people, and give diverse people what's important to them and improve community outcomes for all. And obviously, Playford Council, we can see diversity is now in the council. We've got heaps of people with cultural backgrounds, gender, religion, education, etc. And it's about creating inclusion, diversity incentives to align with whatever the council does to drive a real change. And that was followed by an illustration made by Miki Kumatpi using a string to illustrate observation and listening. He said there is a gap in our awareness that there's not much listening enough because of our conceptual image of something or about things, how they should be. And following on Councillor Marsh touching there about the Hope Street, our staff have made a presentation, and it was an excellent presentation before other councils, highlighting the Building Up Hope project at Davern Park. The team shared their journey about the importance of conversations and connections within the community, which had brought about young people's voices and visions to life in the Davern project. And Isaac actually summed it up very succinctly by saying collaboration is better than isolation. And on the second day, we've heard from the Minister for Regional Roads, Local Government and Veterans Affairs, the Honourable Jeff Brock, MP. He passionately talked about his commitment to spending as much time as possible visiting councils in Adelaide and in regional areas. He said that he will be working closely with local government. And also at the ordinary general meeting, there were several motions presented, and two of them that stood out for me, and they were homelessness and for the independent review of the Planning Development and Infrastructure Act 2016 and Planning and Design Code. Motions raised by Gawler Council, good on them, and had the support of the sector. And that's all I could say for that conference. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. On your hands, Councillor Tame.
Thank you. I attended the Everyday Money Skills official launch event held at the John McVitie Centre from the City of Playford Inclusion Team, and it was great to see an inclusive online and printable program to assist people with all abilities learn how to use money and budget and save. So that was great to see, and look forward to a lot more things that are inclusive.
Thank you, Councillor Tame. Are there any other councillors wishing to make a report for representatives of council and other organisations or reports by councillors? If not, then we go to reports of representatives, conferences or training programs. Does any other member wish to make a comment in relation to that? If not, I also attended with Councillor Gossink and Councillor Onyuzans to the LGA Showcase and OGM. I think Councillor Onyuzans, you wrapped it up pretty well, but it was fantastic to have the City of Playford represented around the youth-led grant process, where we did have the discussion around Hope Street. That was a really fantastic presentation as well. And also the City of Playford that talked about community wellbeing from the JMC and the project related to that as presentations that were made. Council didn't have any motions in relation to the OGM, so we weren't required to do that. But I think there was one presentation of note done by the City of Charles Sturt that I know took some interest of our staff and our councillors that were present. It was in relation to work experience, where the City of Charles Sturt was able to work with 2 local high schools, and 30 senior students were able to be showcased for over a week inside the City of Charles Sturt in a variety of areas around outdoor workforce, inside, planning, etc., to provide some different work experience outcomes for the local community, to show the diverse roles in local government. And I know that that's something that members of this chamber have talked about around traineeships and opportunities for work experience. We know that across the sector there's also been some issues around how you manage young people in relation to work experience, but there is a successful program which was showcased at the OGM called the Success for Our Pillars program. So I do encourage the staff to have a look at that. And I know a number of the staff that were present on the day were very keen to look at how that could be embedded inside the organisation, because it's a fantastic outcome for 30 young people in the Charles Sturt Council area to gain an insight into council, but also to look at different careers and options for their local community, which I think is something that's very valuable, particularly to our community as a fast-growing council. Are there any other reports for conferences or training programs? If not, then we move on to item 8, questions without notice. Are there any questions? Councillor Norris.
Thank you. I'm not 100% sure if this has been asked before. I feel like it may have, but whose responsibility is the upkeep of the Yulee Road Cemetery?
Mr. Blom.
Thank you, Councillor. Through the Chair, I believe that's us, but I'll confirm.
Okay, thank you.
Are there any other questions without notice? Councillor Onyuzans.
Oh yeah, thank you, Mayor. I had a chance to work with Playford Prevention Suicide Network, and we were walking at the dirt path from John McVitie to the precinct. So my question would be, is there any plan to update that dirt path? It's quite sort of unsafe for people to walk to and fro from one area to the next.
Ms. Hudson.
Through the Chair, there are no plans to upgrade that path. That has not been included in the forward delivery plan at this stage.
Okay, all right. Well, many people are actually using that path, and a few actually voiced their opinion about, like, sometimes they would get some scrapes on their, when they're wearing their thongs, obviously. So yeah, it's just about safety. Obviously, that's why I'm raising it. I mean, precinct, we are trying to advocate for the precinct to the people around the area, but obviously the path is not quite good for them to use, because it's unsafe for them to use the main road, obviously.
We'll take that feedback on board and have a look at the safety issues and take into consideration potential for that to be looked at in terms of the forward plan.
All right, okay, thank you, Tina.
Councillor Rentoulis, you may have to take yourself off mute, Councillor.
Thank you, Mayor. Look, given that I'm sort of struggling to speak at the moment because of my cough. Is it okay if we just do you want me to read each of the questions, or I'm struggling at the moment to speak?
Have you have sent the questions in, or just making sure they're up on the screen? That's all.
I have. Okay. Well, I believe that I had.
Yep, no, they are now appearing. I'm happy to read them out for you if you wish.
Yes, please, Mayor.
Okay, so we have questions in item 8.1, Virginia Main Street, from Councillor Rentoulis. It looks like there's 3 questions. Has Council selected a preferred proponent to complete the works in relation to the Virginia Main Street upgrade? If so, which company is it? Second question, when will works commence and what is the order of those works? Third question is, will Council be contacting all the local businesses ahead of time to advise them of the following? Part A, the works that are going to be completed. Part B, the disruptions that will be caused to the local businesses. And Part C, what Council will do to minimise and mitigate against the disruption. Mr. Blom.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Through the Chair, in order, has Council selected a preferred proponent? Staff have a preferred proponent. However, they're in the process of preparing the purchase recommendation to proceed with getting approval to appoint the preferred tenderer. And as we're in the process of doing that, it would be a breach of confidentiality at this stage to provide details as to who that is. It's expected that this information will be made public in about 2 to 3 weeks. The second question, when will works commence and what's the order of the works? Works will commence as soon as possible following the signing of the contract, which is likely to be in mid-May. Site establishment and service locations will occur first. This will cause some minor disruption across the entirety of the site throughout the process, which should be completed within 1 week. Following the service locations, works are expected to commence in Institute Park and on the northern end of the street near the Oval entrance, and then move progressively south in sections. Works will only be undertaken on one side of the road at a time to allow for foot and vehicle traffic. The third question, in parts, will Council be contacting all local businesses ahead of time? A, that the works are going to be completed. The contractor, in conjunction with Council, will make contact with all the businesses to discuss the works and the associated dates. B, that the disruptions that will be caused to local business. During these individual discussions, this will occur with the business owners and operators to discuss the disruptions and understand their particular requirements for access, such as opening times and deliveries, etc. And C, what Council will do to minimise and mitigate against the disruption. Mitigation strategies will be discussed during these initial conversations with business owners and then revisited as works approach the businesses in question. More broadly, part of the selection process was that the preferred tenderer does have significant experience in delivering these types of projects and a track record for undertaking highly disruptive projects with minimal community angst and zero claims for lost business. And the company has a dedicated communications officer with local government experience allocated in part to this project in order to provide communication and updates throughout the entirety of the works.
Thank you, Mr. Blom. Thank you, Mayor.
Are there any further questions? If there are not, then I presume that Councillors Norris, Onyazans and Rentoulis will wish their questions and accompanying responses to be recorded in the minutes. Getting those nods from everybody. Does somebody wish to move that way? Yes, moved by Councillor Rentoulis, seconded by Councillor Onyazans. I'm presuming the mover and seconder don't need to speak on the matter. I'm taking that as that. Does any other councillor wish to speak? If not, then I'll put that. Those in favour, those against, I declare that carried. Move to item 9, questions on notices nil. Item 10, petitions is nil. Item 11, deputations, representations is nil. Move to item 12, motions without notice. Are there any motions? Councillor Kerrison.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor Doherty. First, that the Mayor and CEO write to the appropriate authorities to manage and control Bathurst Burr within the City of Playford. It's come to my attention through some residents that there's a reasonable amount of Bathurst Burr on private property, which I've tried to address through council. Basically, we don't have the authority to address it, and that comes under Greening Adelaide control. It is a notified weed, so when I've spoken to Greening Adelaide, it's on their low priority list. And my concern is it's probably on the low priority list based upon it's classed as easy to control. When it's in flat land, cropping land, I totally support it's easy to control. However, when it gets into the hills, it's easily spread. It's got a very nasty little burr, and I've had a little bit of experience with it. If you touch it on your trousers, your clothing, it sticks to you, and then it gets easily spread. So this will be spread by rabbits, foxes, kangaroos, livestock. It also becomes a problem with livestock because you can't sell livestock through the markets when they're contaminated with Bathurst Burr. It's also quite nasty as far as it's got a really nasty prickle to it. And I think my concern is if this starts spreading and it starts spreading into, you know, our hard to reach areas, and for example the property where I live, every now and again there's a small amount coming through and it's very hard to track where it's coming from. Is it coming from a neighbouring property? Is it coming from a gully? So I think we need to get on top of this, and it's the responsible thing to do. So yeah, if everyone can support this tonight, I'd be appreciative. Thank you.
Does motion find a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Marsh.
Yeah, happy to second it. And I've just got a question. Can we find out from staff, what do we do to manage it within our own council-controlled areas? Do we give advice then to private property if they do ring council to ask us?
Mr. Blom.
Thank you, Councillor. Through the Chair, I'll take it on notice to exactly how we would direct residents about private property, and I'll get back to you.
All right, no worries. Thanks for that.
Does any other councillor wish to speak on the item? If not, then I'll put that. Those in favour? Those against? I declare that carried. Are there any other motions without notice? Councillor Kerrison.
Sorry, I've got a couple tonight, Mayor Doherty. Next one is Yorktown Road and Blacktop Road intersection. That the Mayor and CEO write to the Minister for the Department of Infrastructure and Transport, Tom Tonus, requesting a further review of the Blacktop Yorktown Road intersection. Look, I think we've already had a review, and having a look at that review, I think one key element has been missed, and that key element is when it's winter, when it's wet, foggy, and there's a very, very poor visibility. The report talks about visibility, but it doesn't address those times in winter when it's extremely foggy. Anyone who's driven through the hills up there knows that it's sometimes literally a metre or two visibility. And I think predominantly a lot of those instances, to my understanding, have been occurring during those winter months. So I think it's worthy of further review. Also, the report doesn't address there's poor visibility coming up, and one of my recommendations was to have a left-hand turning lane. So as you come up Yorktown Road and you go to merge on Blacktop Road, if there's a left-hand lane, it allows a vehicle to be at 40, 50 k's an hour before it merges into the 80 k zone or 100 k zone. So I think that's worthy of review. And also the lighting, look, my past experience with intersections, and I can speak from experience of Cross Hill Road, growing up, lots of accidents. As soon as that intersection was lit, the number of incidents reduced, significantly. So, and I think we can see that through a lot of our roundabouts that have been installed, like Kersbrook Road, the lighting into that as well, which is really fantastic. So I think the lighting there as well is certainly worth review too, and that if it was lit, even when there's poor visibility, that being lit will make a huge difference. So thank you.
You seconding Councillor Norris?
Yes,
Do you wish to speak to that?
I think Councillor Kerrison pretty much said everything that needs to be said, but I do agree, it's 100 k's up that road. There is poor visibility, crossing over, people aren't paying attention. I myself have been up there during winter and you can't see anything. You can barely see a car coming in until it's, a couple of metres. So 100% recommend that we need to do this.
Any other councillors wishing to speak? Councillor Mark.
Yeah, I think just a note from the comments that you made, I think it's ideal to try and give some feedback through to DIT about when they do their traffic surveying. We've had other surveys and traffic management surveys done before at the wrong time of the year to get traffic flows and understanding of clearances and stuff. So I think learning from our past when we've done our own traffic management surveying in our own local areas, I think it might be quite worthy to take on exactly what was mentioned by yourself in making sure that we do a survey at the appropriate, probably the most riskiest time, because I've definitely been there when there's a number of vehicle accidents, so well done.
Any other councillors wishing to speak? If not, then I'll put that. Those in favour? Those against? I declare that carried. Are there any other motions without notice? Councillor Kerrison.
Okay, this is my last one for tonight. Humbug Scrub Road. That the Mayor and CEO write to the Minister for the Department of Infrastructure and Transport to review the residents' request to improve safety and implement a speed limit reduction from 100 kilometres to 80 kilometres per hour on Humbug Scrub Road. Look, there's been a lot of campaigning by residents to achieve this outcome. We've previously had motions and requested that Corey Wingard meet us out there on site. And with respect, he did meet us out there on site. Ashton Hearn, obviously before being elected, was advocating for the reduction as well. Paula Luthen previously was advocating for the reduction, but there are serious safety concerns on that road. And just last week, someone sent me an email where they've nearly been cleaned up going into their driveway. So I think it's only a matter of time that there's going to be something significant occurring on that road. You ask why the difference now to before. With the sealing of the road around Humbug Scrub Road, it's increased traffic from Williamstown and other areas significantly. So the volume of traffic on that road is increased significantly. So I think that's the easiest, simplest thing we can do to improve safety in that road is simply reduce it from 100 to 80 at this point in time. I know Corey Wingard said about consistency within the area. You look at Gawler One Tree Hill Road, that's 80 kilometres an hour, and I think there's a lot more merit to Humbug Scrub Road being 80 kilometres an hour than Gawler One Tree Hill Road. That's my personal opinion, but I think on behalf of the residents expressing their concerns still that we need to further request and do what we can to have that safety improved. Thank you.
There's a motion for Seconder. Seconder, Councillor Halls.
Yes, please.
Do you wish to speak?
No, Councillor Kerrison.
Thank you, Councillor. Does any other councillor wish to speak? If not, then I'll put that. Those in favour? Those against? Declare that carried. Are there any other motions without notice? Nobody on Zoom. Councillor Rentours.
Thank you for your patience, Mayor and councillors. I will do my best to speak to this particular motion that I've worked with Mr. Green and Dale in relation to Mr. Welsh. The issue is one of public road safety at the intersection of Port Wakewood Road and Old Port Wakewood Road. This particular intersection is quite notorious for accidents. predominantly minor accidents at lower speed, but there have been quite a few significant accidents. This is something that I've been working on now for some time. In fact, probably the last 4 years, and I just haven't had any luck. But it's something that needs to be looked at again shortly. And so the motion asks for the Mayor to write to the Minister for Transport seeking a road safety improvement investigation for the intersection of Port Wakewood Road and Old Port Wakewood Road. And the investigation is to, 1, focus on improving safety for motorists merging onto Port Wakewood Road, acknowledging the Virginia Road Infrastructure Deed includes installation of an acceleration lane from Old Port Wakewood Road onto Port Wakewood Road, southbound, and 2, improving sight lines which are impacted by the existing vegetation along the median strip. So Mr. Welsh has helped me with the motion, and he has also brought to my attention that there's a infrastructure deed there as well, which I wasn't aware of. So he's helped me to shape the motion in such a way that the department will have to come back and perform a number of investigations in relation to that intersection, primarily around the slip lane from Old Port Wakewood Road by the caravan park that merges onto Port Wakewood Road. I think most, if not everyone in the chamber, has utilised that stretch of road from Old Port Wakewood Road onto Port Wakewood Road. The slip lane isn't anywhere near long enough. It's quite dangerous. What invariably happens is that transport coming from the north heading southbound, they're reluctant to merge, to move over, to allow that merging lane from Old Port Wakewood Road to Port Wakewood Road to move unimpeded. And there have been some really, really serious accidents there. I believe maybe 1 or 2 have resulted in death. So, this is a call for the Minister for Transport now to conduct a road safety investigation to see if we can improve that particular intersection. I ask for your support, councillors. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Antoulis. Let's find a seconder. Seconded by Councillor Mark.
Happy to second that. Can I ask staff, what's the trigger point for this growth deed intervention to be activated? I think it'd be quite helpful for elected members to know what triggers this funding.
Mr. Welsh.
Through there, I can't answer the question what the actual trigger is. We can go back and have a look at the details of the infrastructure deed. I guess I could state with confidence that it's not part of the 4-year rolling work plan that DIT have at the moment. So we don't have a timeline on it. Part of this motion was actually getting some guidance from DIT around what they see around the timeline for this intervention.
No worries at all. So I think it'd be great to find out what the current arrangements of the deed is, but definitely support the intent of the motion as well.
Any other councillor wishing to speak? If not, then I'll put that. Those in favour? Those against? I declare that carried. Are there any other motions without notice? Doesn't look like it from the Zoom. No. So we move on to item 13, motions on notice. Item 13.1, bus stops. Councillor Marsh.
Thanks for that. I'm going to not move this motion tonight based on some fresh information from staff who have been in contact with DIT. That it's quite good actually that feedback from our local community has been taken on board, and that there'll be a trial new bus route with a bus stop located on Stevenheath Road. So I think let's give the department ample time to run their trial, and if it doesn't suit the community, we can revisit this in some time in the future.
Thank you, Councillor Marsh. And we've got another item, police patrols.
Thanks, that I'll wait. There was a slight alternate motion put up just to insert the name of the new minister, but the intent's still the same. What happened is I held a community meeting at Air Sports Park with the Air community. There was an array of community concerns raised at that engagement. One of them was, whilst the government was in caretaker mode, we held off, and all we want to do is just advocate that, like many other areas have, we had the Blake's Crossing, we've had Andrews Farms, and that Air estate themselves are now experiencing the same as what a few of our little other pockets are in the city of Playford. So hopefully we can get the support, and it's just as easy as writing to the Emergency Services Minister and making them aware of the increased illegal activity in Air. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Marsh. To find a second, Councillor Tame.
Yep.
Do you wish to speak?
I definitely agree. There's a lot of issues, especially in the new development areas. There's a lot of crime that are happening, and if we have a lot more police presence, it would definitely help. So I agree.
Thank you, Councillor Tame. Any other councillor wishing to speak? Councillor Antoulis.
Yes, thanks, Mayor. Just very briefly, I certainly support the motion that's been put forward tonight by Councillor Marsh. It's in response to community engagement, and Councillor Marsh is listening to his constituents. Anything in terms of bringing light to a particular issue will help. Particularly, I believe coming from the Mayor as well, that certainly helps, adds impetus. So I certainly support the motion. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Norris.
Look, I just wanted to say I agree with the sentiment. I obviously agree that we need increased police presence, but I think we need it across the entire city. So while I support the fact that there's obviously issues going on in Air, there's issues going on in Blake's Crossing, Elizabeth Downs, basically every suburb, and I don't think that any of these have been rectified. If anything, they're all actually increasing. So perhaps we should actually be advocating that we need to recruit more police officers, and that should be something that's put in there as well.
Any other councillor wishing to make comment? If not, Councillor Marsh, you have the right to close if you wish. You don't want to take that, so I'll put that motion. Those in favour? Those against? I declare that carried. There's no other motions on notice, so we move now to committee reports. Item 14.1, fees and charges, policy and procedure review. Somebody wish to move?
Recommendation.
Moved by Councillor Baker. Does it find a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Onizan. I'm presuming the mover and seconder don't wish to speak. Does any other councillor wish to speak? If not, then I'll put that. Those in favour? Those against? I declare that item carried. Go to item 14.2, fees and charges 22-23 on page 25. Councillor Ryan.
Move the recommendation.
Thank you, Councillor Ryan. Does it find a seconder? Councillor Small-Smith.
Yes, if I may just speak quickly.
You can.
There were a few questions that I was going to bring up tonight on behalf of Councillor Halls if she didn't make it in time, but after speaking with Ms Hudson has taken those on notice and will contact Councillor Halls and myself in regard.
Thank you, Councillor Small-Smith. Any other councillors wishing to make comment?
Yes.
Councillor Tame.
Thank you. I just wanted to query, so we've got a lot of social inclusion activities, and I wanted to find out a little bit in regards to NDIS Cafe and the inclusive programs. Whereabouts are they actually advertised? Is there a specific site that's pinpointing those areas for?
Just for ease for everyone, Councillor, can you just tell us what page you're on of that big document?
Sorry, I've got the big one, which is page 6 of 8.
Page 6. Ms Hudson.
Through the chair, I need to take that on notice. I'm sorry, Councillor Tame. I don't know all of the detail of where this stuff is advertised, so I can take it on notice and let you know.
Yep, okay. All right, and then also just within the social inclusion programs, so to do with the Grenfell Hub and everything, you've got these events, things that are happening around the city, buses and transport to assist the elderly participating in the programs around Playford. Salisbury have, a community bus. There are other areas that have a community bus. Is there anything that's, I know they have, community transport to get to Lyle McEwen Hospital and things like that, but is there anything that we can do to ensure that something like that can be incorporated in the budget and something can be taken, you know, on board for transportation for the elderly, especially.
Through the chair. In relation to the fees and charges information, that is specifically related to those people who have my aged care funding. So that transport and those fees are specifically related to our particular clients out of Grenville. In relation to the community bus, which is a different service, open to the community generally, we do not currently have a community bus. My understanding is there is no action to look at that as an option, but if council wants us to explore that option, we can take that on notice.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other councillors wishing to make comment or questions in relation to the fees and charges? Councillor Halls.
Yes, thank you, Your Worship. Who does immunisation come under? Is that... I just had a couple of questions. On here it says on page 3,
thank you,
3/4 of the way down under immunisation. I just wanted to clarify, it says that the fees and charges are various and its actual cost for vaccination. Do we charge our residents, or is this a different, is this only if they go out to a business? Because I see that there's an administration fee of $5 as well. So I was just wondering, is this only if they go to a business and we take the, you know, they use our services, or is this what we charge at our immunisation to our local residents?
Ms Hudson.
Through the chair. The list that's in there, it depends on the circumstances. So for example, in relation to servicing businesses, a business can choose to interact with us in slightly different ways. There is an hourly fee that we charge the business, or there are some other fees. It would depend largely on the circumstances of the program in which the person is being immunised. So for example, we do a lot of immunisation in schools, and so to the student it's free, but there is a charge to the education department as an example. If you had a specific question, perhaps I'll catch up with you afterwards and I can try and address that specific question offline.
That's all right. I was just trying to work out whether we charged, you know, we have a clinic here, I believe, across the road. It's still there, I think, isn't it? And then,
are you talking about the clinic here?
No, not
clinic?
the COVID clinic.
You're talking
I'm
about
our immunisation clinic.
Yeah.
Because it used to be up at Manapara as well in the library, but the library's not there anymore. So, so I was just trying to work out: do we charge people?
I'll follow up with you and
yeah. Thanks.
Thanks.
Much appreciated.
Any other councillors have any questions in relation to the fees and charges? If not, I'm presuming the mover doesn't wish to speak. He's nodding at me saying no, so I will put that motion. All those in favour? All those against? I declare that carried. Move to item 14.3, Gawler River Floodplain Management Authority Draft Business Plan and Budget. Councillor Onuzans.
Yeah, happy to move the recommendation. The committee recommendation.
Does it find a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Marsh.
Happy. Don't need to speak.
Any other councillor wishing to speak? None on Zoom either, so I'll put that. Those in favour? Those against? I declare that carried. Item 14.4, Additional Hard Waste Service. Councillor Marsh.
Happy to move the recommendation.
Does it find a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Halls. I'm presuming you don't wish to speak either. Any other councillor wishing to speak? If not, then I'll put that. Those in favour? Those against? I declare that carried. Move to item 14.5, Community Development and Event Grant 21-22, Round 2. Councillor Small-Smith.
Move the staff recommendation.
Thank you, Councillor Small-Smith. Does it find a just find a seconder. Councillor Marsh.
Yeah, happy to support it. I know it's normally a good one to talk to, but I'll leave it at that.
I won't make any comment to that, Councillor Marsh. Does any other councillor wish to speak on the item? If not, then I'll put that. Those in favour? Those against? I declare that carried. Item 14.6, response to tree planting petition on Hollyoak Court at Hillbank. Councillor Kerrison.
Yeah, I'd like to move the committee recommendation, please.
Thank you, Councillor Kerrison. I just want to double check something while I pull it up here. Would you be obliged to move that recommendation but insert a date, because obviously now it's got to come back to council, is my understanding from governance, is that correct?
I thought we had a date.
Okay, yes, so we need to actually make an additional, on top of that one, to a date for the ordinary council. We also need to make a reference in the motion that item 14.6 be deferred. So that's tonight's, still same thing, but if we can't keep on deferring 5.5 when 5.5 won't exist after being adopted tonight. So are you happy for the motion to read that a decision on item 14.6 be deferred to the next ordinary council meeting and whatever date that will be? Are you happy with that? I'm sure the minute taker will be able to find out what the date of the next meeting is. So is everybody clear on what we're doing? Yeah, we could just say May ordinary council meeting. Yeah. Do you wish to make any comments?
I think just briefly we covered it last week at the Strategy and Services Committee meeting. There's a few questions to come back, and that'll be reflected in this motion. So yeah, thank you.
Does the motion find a seconder? Councillor Halls. All right, does any other councillor wish to speak on the item? Councillor Gossing.
I have a question.
Yes.
Look, I just want to ask the administration, when were the trees removed? The original 18 trees?
Mr. Blom.
Thank you, Councillor. Through the Chair, I don't have that information in hand, but we could include that in the response to the deferred motion if you'd like.
I do believe it was before my term started, so it's something like 4 years ago. But one of the things that I did want to just mention is the Hollyoak residents reached out to the Ward 3 councillors as their once tree-lined street had 18 well-established trees removed, I believe, almost 4 years ago. 4 residents have chosen not to actually have trees planted. That's fair enough. And I do believe that, yes, the right tree needs to be planted in the right place, but I do feel like we're really holding up this process, and we really need to consider honouring what those residents in that street originally were told, which is the right tree would be planted in the right location, yet that doesn't seem to have happened. So I feel like this is just really dragging out, and I hope we get to the point of putting trees in sooner rather than later.
Thank you, Councillor Gossink. Are there any other comments on the item? If not, then I will put the motion that's before us. Those in favour? Those against? Okay, that carried. Move to item 15.1, draft 2022-23 annual business plan and budget long-term financial plan for public consultation. Councillor Baker.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I move the recommendation contained on page 107, and I'd just like to congratulate both the administration and this chamber for having a very, very solid, really considered effort in getting this long-term plan up. It's something that we have worked on steadily for months and months and months, and culminates in an excellent report that you have before you. So I would wholeheartedly endorse that.
Thank you, Councillor Baker. Does it find a seconder? Councillor Small-Smith.
Yes, I'm happy to second that, and ditto to what Councillor Baker said.
Does any other councillor wish to make comment? Councillor Marr.
Yeah, I would like to further support the 2 fellow councillors. I think we've done an extremely great job in leveraging our cash reserves, if it's grant funding and also growth coming to this annual business plan. So I reckon credit to the administration and credit to the councillors to taking that step back and finding out what external or reserves have we got and how can we best use it to deliver some, I think, some incredible infrastructure projects and ones that obviously just lately within the week or two have been put in the annual business plan as well. So well done to the staff. We've really done really well. And definitely, we get to continue on with the tree canopy as well, so I love that as well.
Any other councillors wishing to make comment? None on Zoom. Then I'll put that. Those in favour? Those against? Okay, that carried. Before I call item 15.2, Councillor Rentoulis, as I've declared an actual interest, are you happy just to chair this item, or if you're unable due to your cough, etc., I can seek leave of the meeting for someone else to chair it? I'm in your hands if you wish just to chair this item for a few moments.
Mayor, it's not so much my cough, it's that I'm in a different building, but it's that somebody else there in the actual physical building chair it.
So, councillors, I can seek leave, or we could do a motion. Is someone seeking leave that some member or a member would like to chair the next item? Councillor Ryan?
I think Councillor Marsh, she's a presiding member at the moment of one of the committees, so for me, he'd be the obvious one.
So I'll seek leave for the meeting that Councillor Marsh to chair the meeting. Does anyone object to that? I'll just make sure there's no objection. If there's no objection, then Councillor Marsh, I'll ask if you can chair item 15.2 while the relevant members vacate the chair.
All right. Thank you, councillors. We'll move forward to 15.2. That's 2022 review of confidential orders. We've got a staff recommendation. Have we got someone that would like to move the staff recommendation?
I'll make it very easy for you. I'll move the staff recommendation.
Fantastic. Thank you for that. Have we got a seconder?
I second that.
Councillor Onizan. Yeah. Have we got any comments from the floor? If you're happy just to press the light for us, that's all right.
No,
would you like the any closing statements at all?
No, you've done well.
Thank you. All right, we'll put that to the vote. Those in favour, those against, carried.
Thank you, councillors. We move on to item 15.3, budget update report. Someone wish to move a recommendation? Councillor Marsh.
Happy to move it. Don't need to speak to it. Thank you.
Councillor Halls. Seconding?
Yes, thank you. I don't need to speak to it.
Any other councillors wishing to speak? No on Zoom. If not, then I'll put that. Those in favour? Those against? I declare that carried. Move to item 17, confidential matters, 17.1 CBD development strategy on page 330. And that we will move into confidence under section 92 of the Local Government Act, that an order is made under section 93D. With the relevant staff that are on the screen will be included in the meeting. If somebody wish to move that way. Councillor Baker?
So moved.
So find a seconder. Seconded by Councillor Halls. Do you wish to speak?
No, thank you.
Does any other councillor wish to speak? No. Then I will put that motion. Those in favour? Those against? I declare that carried, and I ask that the doors be closed and that members of the gallery or staff...
Support your local theatre and arts industry and enjoy a show at the Shedley. Playford's iconic Shedley Theatre is bringing a great selection of local and national performances to Elizabeth this winter.
For more information on their upcoming shows, visit theshedley.com.au or call 8256 0500. Have you visited the Stretton Centre on Peachy Road, Monopara? Designed to support growth in the city of Playford, the centre offers dedicated workspaces from less than $10 per day, state-of-the-art event and meeting spaces for hire, a complimentary business support service to help you upskill, apply for grants and grow, Workshops, networking and training for young kids right through to adults and the City of Playford Library.
Contact our team for a tour on 8254 4666 or visit the Stretton Centre at 307 Peachy Road, Manapara.
Did you know you can view your rates notice online at Playford Online Services? Simply register for an online account by visiting our website at playford.sa.gov.au and searching Playford Online Services. Once you've registered, you can request to have your rates notice delivered to your device or computer.
Prefer to watch and learn?